back check, pokes the puck away from Nieto, which basically disrupted a breakaway on John Gibson to keep the game at a 1-1 tie. And then a dumb play by Hampus Lindholm. Had no business sticking his hip out there. Bumps an Avs player without the puck with 5 flipping seconds to go. Ducks would be, looking at a penalty kill to start the second period. And not only did they not know, but Ryan Miller would be starting the second period cold, and he would have to face a fresh sheet of ice with a dangerous Avalanche team on the power play to start the second period.
Yeah, not ideal for sure to have Ryan Miller come in this game. I mean, I think this is the 5th or 6th time that he's had to come in the middle of the game, coming in cold and having to face a game that's very important. I mean, this is arguably more important the way the standings are right now than the game the other night against the Kings. A loss with the Ducks would have put them, they would have still been in a playoff spot, but it would have given the Kings a chance to gain more of a foothold on them. It would have given the Blues a chance to move in front of them. So this is huge, and it's tough. Miller's been called upon multiple times to do this, but to throw a guy in a situation like that, it's unfortunate. Of course, he gives up the goal early, which you can't really blame it on him too much.
No, it is what it is at this point. Getting started in the second period, the Avs would cash in on the power play. Jost swats home a rebound as McKinnon was able to go in uncontested into the high slot. Silverberg was out without a stick. All of a sudden, it's 2-1 Avs. Make no mistake about it. McKinnon's been deadly all year, and he gets a hand on the goal on this one.
He's just so dangerous every time he touches the puck. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's one of the shiftiest players in the National Hockey League, the way he's just able to escape coverage like that. I mean, he made something out of nothing. He was covered pretty good. I'm not sure. I can't remember who was covering, but he makes a move similar to what Raquel did on Drew Doughty the other night. Just creates some space, throws a puck on net, creates a rebound, and Yo spots it. And that's what he's been doing for the Avs all season. If they make the playoffs, it's really, it's on his back. And we've talked about the Hart Trophy and all the discussion around him and McDavid and, will they get it if they miss the playoffs or not. I think right now, nobody's really done more for their team than Nathan McKinnon has at this point. I mean, he's given them all the chance in the world to get into the playoffs, and they've had different things happening here or there where they've kind of blown it, and they're sitting on the outside looking in.
Not sure if you heard of Taylor Hall, but that's just my opinion.
Well, we're not going to get in this discussion again.
He did have a shorthanded breakaway goal to win the game for them tonight against the Habs. Just throwing that out there, too. But Getzlaf and Kasha's line, they would eventually play together in this game, but the Getz line creating pressure, was able to get a backhand, no look over to Hampus Lindholm, who just missed. And then you get another great pressure there by the Kasha line. He's all over the ice creating chances tonight. It was just really, really great to see him all over the place again for the second straight game. But how about Getzlaf? If he had the points, or the games actually earlier in the season, he might have the points to be contending for the Hart Trophy that we're talking about between Taylor Hall and Nathan McKinnon, right? We would be saying Getz for Hart and Gibby for Vezina, but obviously we don't see Getzlaf in that conversation purely on a games played basis.
Yeah, no, he would have to be. He's been unbelievable since coming back for the Ducks this season. He would be in that discussion, and I think there'd be the same type of I don't know how to explain it, the same type of hesitance to it as well that you have with McKinnon and Hall, where you're not sure if they're going to make the playoffs. New Jersey actually looks like they're going to squeak in, so that helps Taylor Hall's case a bit. But Getzlaf would be right in there. I think it would be tough because he has done so much. But you had mentioned already, look at what Taylor Hall's done with New Jersey. Look at what McKinnon's done with the Avs. He's right up there, but it's a tough decision.
Now, how did you feel about the call on Ryan Kessler? The high stick. I watched the replay. I didn't see it. Bernier didn't budge. And usually if you touch a goalie in this league, they're backing up into their crease and falling and turtling because they're going to try to draw that call.
Yeah.
I didn't see the stick hit him at all. Did you see any high stick whatsoever, or are the Ducks just on the wrong end of a missed call here? I know it's tough to call these plays, but I didn't see any embellishment or anything from the Avs players, rather.
Yeah, no, I honestly didn't see anything. I think they showed on the broadcast, and even they didn't really have any footage of what had happened. They looked back and were trying to find where he high-sticked it, and nobody could really find it. I'm sure there's probably something out there, but yeah, it definitely is a missed call, unless there's something we're missing. But, who? Who did he high-stick? Unless they're calling on Jonathan Bernier and he grazed him a bit, but it's one of those calls again with the embellishment call on Ryan Kessler that's going against him. And, they obviously didn't hurt the Ducks too much this game, but I'm sure if they had scored a goal off this high-sticking penalty, we would have been hearing about it a lot more.
Oh, no, absolutely. Ducks get away without suffering a goal on that penalty kill. But then you see another after-whistle battle here. Rantanen goes off for interference as he hacks the stick out of Brandon Montour's hands in front of Ryan Miller. And then Perry being Perry doesn't get away with being Perry. Punching Landeskog, a little rabbit punch out of nowhere. Landeskog punches right back. Getzlaf comes in, apparently not noticing that Perry's thought of the whole fracas. Both those guys go off for roughing. Rantanen with the interference call, Ducks with the power play there. Kind of funny about Perry now.
Yeah, but he's mixing it up with the guy who's paid to do the same job on the other side in Landeskog. And, he was kind of getting away with a lot to this point in this game. So kudos to Perry for going over there and mixing it up with him. And I mean, it works out, right? I mean, they end up getting a power play. So it could have gone the other way. So you want to be wary about that in such a close game where the Avs are already up 2-1. But it gave them an advantage, at least at that point.
That's true. Did you see the little head punch by Getzlaf as the camera was going away from the broadcast? He kind of flipped Landeskog's helmet back into his face. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't. But people, I think at one point too, Lindholm kind of face washed him and pushed his helmet off his head at a couple times. They were getting on him pretty much right after he knocked Gibson out of the game. So I'm not surprised that the captain was getting in there because he usually does that. He doesn't care. He'll go after anybody. He went after Chara in the game against the Bruins, so he'll go after whoever. He's a pretty tough guy. He can stand up to whoever he wants to get in a fight with.
Right after this power play goes over, Ducks are able to get it going. It felt like the second power play unit had the better of the chances rather than the first power play unit. But then Ryan Miller forced to make a big stop at Andrighetto, and then shortly thereafter, the Avs with a 3-on-1 break. Fowler, in my opinion, overplayed the rush. As Yost, who other than him this game is getting the chances, able to sneak in on the weak side as Fowler goes to the boards. And then, Jesus, dude, what a bar-down laser on Ryan Miller. No chance. 3-1 Avalanche.
Yeah, that's what Yost has been doing all season, kind of quietly for the Avalanche. He's not necessarily up in the front running with some of the rookies like Barzal, Besser, Kyle Connor, but he's quietly making a name for himself with the Avalanche this year. A former 10th overall pick, so you look at what he's doing, you look at what Nick Ritchie's doing, you're a little bit envious, but. Yeah, I mean, he's making the Ducks pay. It was a good game from him in this one, and there's no stopping that. It's a little bit of an overplay, like you said, from Fowler. He kind of pinches up a little bit too much in the rush, but it's all Yost on that play. Miller covers it pretty well, and there was only one spot that he could have picked to get the goal, and he finds it.
It was an unbelievable shot. The Ducks would kind of relent some shots there for the Avs were getting their chances. Then Bosch would come in with an absolute bomb off the pipe. It hit a stick in front. Bernier would have never seen it anyway. Gets out of trouble in that shot there. Bosch just coming so close to making this a 1-goal game. And then Kessler with a huge chance in the high slot. He missed high. And then we would get the typical end of the period, at least in this game. Lindholm took the penalty with 5 seconds to go in the first. Brandon Montour gets his stick parallel on McKinnon for all but like a second. And the hooking call goes with 30 seconds to go in the second period. That would mean the Ducks would have to start a third period again with 1 minute and 27 seconds on the penalty kill.
Yeah, and you're kind of worried that it was going to start off the same as how the first period did going into the second, where they got a goal right off the early power play that they had. And I think that's what everybody was worried about, because it's kind of a dumb penalty, and it was a little bit of a soft one too. Anytime though you touch McKinnon when he's streaking in, you're going to get a penalty. You're interfering with him. I agree with the hooking call. It was a little bit of a soft one, but it's such a dumb time to take a penalty. And I get it. It's tough. It's tough to keep up with the size and speed that McKinnon has, but it's brutal. You pretty much eliminate any chance to come out of the gates hot in the third period, because you've got to kill 1.5 minutes of the power play.
Ducks would end that, leading the game in shots 31-19 after 2, which is basically what most teams put up in a game. So the Ducks are just churning out the offense, but I felt like they weren't getting the grade A chances throughout the first and second period, despite a couple of decent plays by their offense, including the Cogs goal through the first 40. Is that the feeling you got too? I just felt like they weren't getting the great looks that the Avs were getting in this game.
Yeah, the shots were 31-19, but it didn't feel like it. They weren't there was a couple chances. I mean, Bosch off the pipe, that was a close one, but it wasn't necessarily a great chance. He just had a good shot that ended up, I think it hit off McKinnon and hit the crossbar, but there wasn't a ton of chances where you thought that they looked that dangerous. The grade A chances, like you said, is kind of hits the nail right on the head. They didn't really make Bernier work too hard. It was really an easy 31 shots or 30 save performance at that point, and the only key chance the Ducks had was the one that Cogliano converted.
Well, starting this third period, the Ducks were able to kill off that minute and 27 seconds on the penalty kill, and then they would get a goal. A new-look third line with Perry slotting in on the third. Kasha moves to the top line with Getzlaf and Raquel. Perry goes behind the net and just outweights everybody and then feeds it back on the other side of the net where Henrique, basically on the goal line, is able to put the puck in. All of a sudden, from a sharp angle, it's 3-2.
What a great pass from Perry. I mean, we all are critical of him, I think, a lot because of his goal scoring is down, but he's found a way to change his game and really just changed into a playmaker. And, I don't want to attribute him to I hate comparing guys, especially guys who are currently playing in the NHL, but he reminds me a bit of how Blake Wheeler's changed his game a bit. How now he is kind of a playmaker, a guy you wouldn't expect normally, a power forward, a guy who is going to usually score about 20 to 30 goals. And he's changed his play to fit his team, and I feel like Perry's done that a bit as well, and he's become more of a playmaker. He still has that goal-scoring ability, but it's just great patience to wait for Girard to get his stick out of the passing lane and to find Henrique, and Henrique just finds like the smallest hole over Bernier's shoulder, and it's such a key goal that early too.
They needed it. Perry getting his 30th assist on the season, so good on him to keep the points going up. It's what you expect out of a guy like that when he's not putting up the goals to be getting the assist. As you just said, all at Blake Wheeler, what he's doing. I know on a different level, but still I agree with you there about Perry. I've been really, really critical of that guy this season.
Yeah.
And, lately he's really become a better player just because maybe he's changed his game, or maybe I'm just noticing he's changing his game. But anyway, great game from Perry. What a pass. And then less than 2 minutes later, Ryan Kessler, baby, would finally get on the board with his 8th of the season. Cogliano from the half wall, almost at the goal line, throws it on net, hits Bernier, goes straight to the high slot. Kessler makes no mistake, beating Bernier high on the blocker side. We got a tie game. The Ducks are rolling at this point.
This line is starting to turn things on. The offense is finally coming. That's 2 straight games where they've arguably been the best line for the Ducks. You can't ask for much more, and it's great for Kessler to get on the board as well. Cogliano had a strong game, was one of the better Ducks players, and just, the momentum was finally coming. The scoring chances were finally getting on the board for the Ducks, and to get these 2 quick goals is just massive. I mean, you don't want to go into the final minutes down 3-2 and have to try and come back against this team. Colorado was doing a good job up until that point, too, and limiting the Ducks' chances in the offensive zone. They're using their speed. They were forechecking hard, and there wasn't a lot of holes. And, Cogs, again, just kind of throwing it out, and it bounces right to Kessler, and he makes him pay. I mean, he's not missing this. That was a bomb from him.
He absolutely needed that, too, I felt like, for his confidence. He's been playing, a great game lately. So to see him get one there is perfect. Ducks would continue to buzz around the Avs. There was a comment made by Brian Hayward. He said that there was such a dominant third period by Anaheim. There were no scoring chances for the Avs in the third period, and he had mentioned that with 7:23 to go in regulation. So that kind of tells you how the rest of this period would go for the Ducks. 3-3, end of regulation, going to the nail-biting time, going to overtime. I felt like the Ducks just really turned on their game. This is the kind of regular season must-win we've been waiting to see. Felt the same way last game against the Kings. I felt like the Ducks held the Avs to less scoring opportunities, especially in the third period, than they did LA. But how did you feel overall for the regulation play for the Ducks?
Yeah, I think they turned it on. And there necessarily wasn't a time where they really weren't playing that great. I mean, they were down 3-1, but I think we can all agree they weren't really necessarily playing bad. They just weren't capitalizing on some of the chances that they were getting. They weren't creating any high danger chances up until the beginning of the third period. And then they really turned things on. And we saw that against the Kings as well. This is a team early part in the middle part of the season where you would expect them to just get caved in the third period, give up, try and hold on. And they haven't done that lately. I mean, they actually look like they can kick it into another gear, and they look like the Ducks of old, the comeback kids, the guys who you never count out, they don't quit, and they get back into